On today's episode of The Unwritten Rule, got a good show to dive into. Got a couple football kind of quick hit notes to talk about. We got the big donation to Mizzou Athletics. We're going to break that down. And then we got some recruiting news, too. A quarterback, in fact, to keep an eye on for Mizzou fans. So we'll talk about him. Matt Zollers is his name. And we'll see what, kind of the feeling is with him to Mizzou. And then we're going to recap the Texas A&M game. Another loss for Mizzou men's basketball. We'll take a look ahead at Mississippi State as well. Talk a little bit of the future, maybe one concerning Mr. Tamar Bates. So we'll get to that. And then we'll do quick hits. We got jerseys, Shawnee's main birds of the week, and the best things we've learned. So yeah, it's a good show to dive into to get you rolling into Super Bowl weekend. And speaking of, before we start, quick word from the sponsor, Bet Online. It is Super Bowl time. It's the usual suspects, the rematch, heading back to Vegas for the big game, Chiefs 49ers. And our partner Bet Online is your number one source for all the football odds, stats, trends, and lines, with everything from point spreads to hundreds of bets on everything from the coin toss to the color of the Gatorade. It's my favorite thing to bet on the Super Bowl. So Bet Online is your number one source for all your Super Bowl wagering. So head to Bet Online today to get in on all the action. Bet Online, the game starts here. We're going to use those lines. The moment has come, Kenny and Peyton. We got to make our Super Bowl picks. It's a close race. Peyton is 45-35-4. Kenny 44-36-4. They're a game apart. And I myself am somehow not out of the running. I could make a miracle comeback to maybe win. But let's dive into the bets. Thank you to Bet Online for these lines. First one, Niners -2 against the Chiefs. What are you boys thinking?
I got Chiefs in this one. I'm done doubting. Wouldn't really shock me if they win by double digits. I'm going to be conservative, as we'll see in the next bet. But I think the Chiefs are probably outright winning this game.
Yeah, I need to stop doubting him. But the NFL gave me an extra week to watch more hype videos, especially hype videos of Brock Purdy running on the field to Crazy Train and Interstate Love Song. And I'm hooked. I can't do it. It's like a drug every time I watch one of those, and it brainwashes me. The whole Anna Fry thing, like what does a goat say? And it's Brock Purdy, and I can't stop watching it. I'm taking the 49ers.
You suck. You're gonna get fooled again. It's happened with
I know
Lamar Jackson.
It's gonna happen. I'm prepared for it. It's just I can't pick against this.
Yeah, I'm with Peyton. I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. I do like the theory that it's like Taylor Swift, her favorite number is 13. Who wears 13? Brock. It's Brock o'clock.
Oh, Jesus.
The other line we have, and Peyton, this is where you and I, our Chiefs faith differs slightly, and I'm making more of the crazy bet. Alternate line, Chiefs -7.5. Very different than the regular spread. I'll just say this. I'm rocking with it. I'm buying into Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I want him to be the GOAT so bad. Take the mantle away from Tom Brady. I'm going to take the Chiefs here. What do you boys think?
I think the 49ers have some self-respect. I think they'll be able to keep this closer. Maybe they need to backdoor it to keep it this way, but you know what? That's fine. I can't see the 49ers getting blown out. They didn't get blown out with Jimmy G.
Yeah.
I can't. I don't like what you said there about taking the mantle away from Tom Brady. It's a very, very far journey ahead of Patrick Mahomes to pull it off. But that's a lot of points, especially in a Super Bowl. These two teams met not too long ago. Very different teams, different quarterback for the 49ers. I just don't think the Chiefs really pull away with this one, especially with just given their other playoff games. I mean, nothing was a thumping like that, especially against the Bills and the Ravens.
No, yeah, the offense probably doesn't have enough to really pull away like that, but I have to do something. I'm in third place. He's not far off, Kenny. He's on pace to catch Brady. He's on pace. Over-unders. First one we got 47.5. I'm taking the under here. What do you boys got?
I got the over because the over just has to be like a 24-24 game. I mean, then that's the over. I'd have to believe both of these teams can get there.
Chiefs have been playing, relatively close football, a lot of low-scoring games too. Like I just mentioned with the Ravens and the Bills. In the NFC, there's a lot of high-scoring games. I don't really know what a computer would tell me it comes out to. This is a very good line, just the straight-up 47.5. I'm going to take the under. I think it'll be relatively close to that number.
I think it could be close. I have a stat. 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls the under has hit in all 4 of them, or in 4 out of the last 5. So that might have swayed me a little bit. And I think we're all, whether or not you took the over the under, I think we're all conservative enough. We have the other one, which is 54.5 as an alternate over under. We all took the under on that one. I can't see, these defenses are too good, right?
Yeah, bit too rich for me.
Yeah.
Nick Bolton Bowl.
Nick Bolton Bowl, dude.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, yeah.
But let's talk about it.
Sorry. I'm not going to say it now. Nick Bolton Bowl. Yeah, I've got another connection later on in Quick Hits too, that we've got some Mizzou ties to this Super Bowl, which I love. But yeah, those are our picks. Real quick, it's my favorite bet. What color is Gatorade going to be? This won't count, but just
lavender haze.
That's where the purple comes into the logo. Everyone thought it was going to be the Ravens. It was actually just the Gatorade
Taylor
color for Taylor Swift. I think it would also make sense if it was just straight up red. Kind of just play into the whole album as well. A little bit surprised that her favorite color isn't the one named after her album.
Red's also like the like it's a color of both teams, so like it could work. It could kind of work either way. I don't know why I have yellow stuck in my head, which feels like it could be wrong, but I don't know. I also have a gut feeling that it might be yellow. We'll see. But those are Super Bowl bets. So yeah, the season comes down to this. We'll have the tweets and posts, and I'm sure whoever loses will cry about it next show. But yeah. Oh, so are we thinking who's winning? Who do we think's winning? Just straight up.
Chiefs.
I got the Chiefs. Kenny?
I mean, I took the 49ers -2. I have to. I guess they could win by 1.
I have to. Really confident in that pick. We'll see. We'll recap the Super Bowl next show. But until then, we'll have some more stuff later on as well. But for now, let's dive into the Mizzou stuff. The Unwritten Rule starts right now.
Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Peyton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule. Today is Friday, February 9th. And Mizzou, Kenny and Peyton, are rich. They're rich. Mizzou Athletics is rich. That's what we're leading with. Probably the biggest news this week. The Tigers, or at least Mizzou Athletics, gets a $62 million donation, anonymous donation. My first question for it, and then we'll dive into the things. Who do we think the donation was from? Did you guys do it?
Yes, the rumors are true. I have donated $62 million to Missouri University. No, I didn't donate it, obviously. I couldn't donate $62 right now. But no, that I thought about this. It'd be cool if it's the Cronkies. Maybe people would forgive them for moving the Rams out of that garbage stadium. But I don't know. There's a lot of rich donors that could be lining up for this one, and I don't have a real guess.
That's a sore subject when I bring up this guy's name, and I'm still convinced he's not actually dead. I think he faked his death. I'm pretty sure it could be Ken Lay. Ken Lay is watching from afar. I don't know if anyone listening worked for Enron, and I do apologize, me bringing up his name, but I mean, if you kind of look at it, guy's been around. Maybe he wants Mizzou basketball to come back and
ever since
and just supply this football team to make another New Year's Six Bowl next year.
Ever since we were just randomly walking through Cornell and Kenny saw Ken Lay's name on like a plaque there of like, what was it even, Kenny? Was it just notable alums?
Notable alumni business school.
Yeah. Kenny has been obsessed with this fact that Ken Lay went to Mizzou.
I'm also being brainwashed by that. My mom, I've lived in Houston my whole life, and growing up, Ken Lay was a big subject. The baseball stadium was named after Enron for a while. Minute Maid Park was, and so my mom has brainwashed me into thinking Ken Lay is still alive, still out there. We actually were on a lake one time, and we went by his house that was there. All the blinds were closed. Someone must have been home. That's all I got to say.
I feel like wouldn't they be open if someone was home or like something?
No, he's trying to hide. He faked his
Didn't there? That's like not. not Ken Lay, but Enron's like actual CEO or whatever. Didn't he actually disappear? Like he totally went off the grid and like escaped
I don't know.
custody. Like
I always
I'd have
I
to
have no
look more
idea.
into it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
always redo a deep dive into all of it after Kenny randomly brings up that fact. We have no idea who donated the money, but let's dive into how it was distributed. Shout out to Michael Howie from the Columbia Missouri, and I'm pulling some of this stuff from his article on it. 50 million is going to the Memorial Stadium improvements. I don't think that's surprising. That's, we've had the news already that they are hiring that architecture firm to improve the north end zone. So that's not shocking. And then the other 12 million is going to the Tiger Fund, which is the NIL collective for student athletes. Feels, guys, like a pretty good distribution of funds, would you say?
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what these renderings that are supposedly coming out in April, I believe it is, of what the north end zone is supposed to look like now. Boy, they could do a lot of different things with that. So good to see that they've got a ton of funding behind that. I mean, there are some crazy numbers just with this donation in general. Like, obviously, it's the biggest one in school history, or at least the athletic department history. It was more than Mizzou had raised in the last 2 years combined, according to Desiree. So yeah, just pretty astounding numbers. The 12 million, if you're more concerned about just on field or on court or on whatever product, I mean that 12 million to the Tiger Fund is pretty damn impressive. You have to assume that gets used for NIL.
If you want to go back and like get a little bit better understanding of all this renovation and the process that it goes into, we talked with Dave Matter last month or maybe into December about what exactly goes into the process. Everyone's asking for the renderings. Well, first they need to get an architect. They needed a guy to get in there and draw everything up that they wanted changed and the renovations that are going to happen. This feels like another domino, another thing that just had to fall in order to get to the final product, and seeing those renderings is getting the money involved. And this is an incredible donation. I wish, down the line, maybe we do find out who it is, because I think it would be just stellar. Also, just, I guess, very humble of the person not to say who it is. Just don't want their name attached to it. They'll always know that they were the one who helped fund the final project.
Or it's the Walton family who have ties to Arkansas, and they didn't want people to know that they donated to Mizzou. I think that's possible. That's me speculating, by the way. I have no source. But also, I just wanted to throw this out there. This is from Pete Nakos of On3. Sorry for quoting your guys' competitor. For some context on the $12 million to Missouri's Tiger Fund, the top-level NIL collective spend roughly $8 to $12 million on payroll for their football roster. Mizzou got that from one donation alone. And there are plenty of other big donations. Obviously not $12 million, but plenty of others that are going into the Tiger Fund. So credit to Mizzou, credit to Desiree in particular, and just the Mizzou AD staff. I mean, they could see the writing on the wall about where NIL was going to go. They have been absolutely on top of it the last couple of years. They got the law passed that prevents Missouri from really getting in much trouble and being able to pay high school athletes as soon as they sign with the Missouri school. So Missouri seems to be way ahead of the curve on NIL right now, and that should really excite fans, because you have to be ahead of the game on that to have a chance at winning a national title, and especially with the expanded playoffs. I mean, very exciting times if you're a Mizzou fan.
Yeah, well said. I think it's a move of looking toward the future, and one that is, or I guess not a move because it was just a donation, but it's one that's going to help what I think has been, building off of the momentum of this last season. It's going to be big. So yeah, 62 million. It was big. I do have the fact again. Thanks to Mr. Howie from the Missourian, by the way. The last one was the Kansas City Sports Trust gave 30 million in 2012, right before Mizzou joined the SEC. So it's the biggest since that, for sure. So yeah, just big time stuff. Okay, before we move on, let's have some quick fun here. Let's say the money hadn't been distributed. You, Peyton, you, Kenny, have all the 62 million. Desiree Reed-Francois says you can designate it however you'd like. How are you spending the money? You don't have to give like a full breakdown, but
Peyton, let's put our heads together. You get
fine.
31 and I get 31.
Okay, that's good because I would distribute 62 million so many different ways. I'm gonna be gracious. I'm not gonna be one of those meatheads that's like it's all going to football. Getting tennis updated courts because I've heard they're just appallingly bad. The track team is getting a new track because it's apparently
I
appalling.
agree with that.
Penny, when he was reporting for the Missourian, he was like getting stonewalled from even reporting on that a couple times. So the
Indoor track, that is.
Yeah,
they did an indoor track too.
Yeah. I don't like Hearns, man. I'm gonna be totally honest. I think Hearns is an eyesore. If it's me, I'm tearing it down and building something new there. I'm sorry if you're an older fan and you have so many memories at Hearns. It's not for me. I just think it's kind of ugly to look at. So I would build a more state-of-the-art thing for wrestling, volleyball, all of that, all the stuff that goes on in there. And a lot of it is going to NIL. I'm more of a basketball fan, so I'd be pumping a lot of it into the basketball team. But yeah, and obviously football's getting a big chunk of that as well. I can't give you specific numbers. I didn't
want you to do math. Yeah. I was just wanted to speculate.
Then I'll probably throw in some renovations at Mizzou Arena. Keep it looking pretty. Well, if you even think it's pretty now.
For those who are wondering, for the indoor track, the issues were 2 years ago that Mizzou couldn't host championships anymore or track meets because their track wasn't sloped, which is ridiculous that an SEC program doesn't have a sloped track for indoor, which is what you need, especially for only a 200 meters. Where I would put money, though, is into the soccer stadium, into the baseball field, Taylor Stadium. I liked what Peter Zimmerman, when he was with us this summer, just talking about what these programs need, the renovations. I like the idea of a press box that's dual facing. So it faces the baseball field from the outfield and also just goes into, you can call soccer games. You can report on soccer games from the same angle, kind of just renovate that stuff. Give those girls and those guys just better opportunities to succeed and make their facilities look like they're an SEC program. And that's where I would put some of that money if I was in charge.
Yeah, I definitely hope that like more funding comes in for that because the soccer stadium especially, that's what I was going to say. I've been on that field. For someone like me who didn't play any high-level soccer, it was the nicest field I've ever been on, but I do realize that compared to the rest of the conference, it's not it's not good. And especially the track, that's bonkers. So well done, well distributed, gentlemen. I think that would go a long way for the improvement in Mizzou athletics, which under Desiree I think is going to keep growing up, we're gonna see some of those changes, but we'll see. Regardless, 62 million. Nice to see people investing, putting their money where their mouth is, I guess, with what they think about the Tigers. All right, let's move on. We've been talking football and maybe a guy who, well, I guess I won't say that because I don't know how long renovations take. I was gonna say play in the new renovated stadium, but I guess they probably wouldn't build that fast. We have some football recruiting news. Maybe you're right. Some football recruiting news. We're going to talk about Matt Zollers. If you don't know who Matt Zollers is, well, look him up. He's a pro-style quarterback in the class of 2025. He's a 4-star, and he recently put Mizzou in his top 4. He's going to make his decision soon. Top 4 along with Georgia, so another SEC team, Penn State and Pitt, which I know, like, when we sent this to each other, interesting little collective of teams. But yeah, obviously exciting. Mizzou is going to need someone to take that mantle eventually from Brady Cook and keep building up that quarterback room. Lost a couple of guys in the offseason, this offseason. But what do you guys think of Zollers and him narrowing, having Mizzou in his top 4, another 4-star guy that could join the Tigers?
Very interesting to see Mizzou going up to New England in particular. Kenny was the one that even pointed out, like, what staff member is up there? According to Rivals, it is Kirby Moore that is recruiting him actively. But yeah, he's from Pennsylvania, so you would think Penn State and Pitt are probably the 2 main players here. But I don't know. Interesting. Got to keep an eye on it. They got time, so we'll see what happens.
Kirby Moore is a West Coast guy. That's why I thought was going to be a good poll, is getting a lot of those, keeping those conversations like Kabari Johnson, who ended up transferring, going to Oregon State, going back to the West Coast. Maybe he could pull some of those pro style quarterbacks, those really athletic quarterbacks from the Californias. Mater Dei is a big school out there that has all this. He just went the opposite coast. Went to Pennsylvania, looked at Matt Zollers. From what I've read, he seems like a very intelligent quarterback. When you get it's like talking a lot of these recruits and high schoolers, some of the positions, a lot of these guys don't have much to say. It's like they just play football. It's just what they are. It just depends on their character, where they've grown up and stuff like that. Especially, but when you get into the quarterback position, no matter who the quarterback is, it's sometimes the most intelligent person or teenager you're talking to. These guys know so much because they're leading offenses in high school football with guys that probably won't play at the next level. So they just have to know so much. And what I read about Matt Zollers is that he's just a very intelligent guy, got on campus with the Tigers for a visit on the 31st, which is a Wednesday. I didn't know this as much, but sometimes into these late January visits, right before the NCAA dead period starts in February, you see guys come midweek, and looked like he wanted to make this visit because something probably overlapped on the weekend. He got on campus with the Tigers, and this is just a good thing. I mean, it's a good thing for Kirby Moore, because when you're a quarterbacks coach and offensive coordinator, you're not really overseeing too many recruitments, and you put a lot of your efforts into one quarterback each cycle. You're putting all your efforts into Matt Zollers, who's a 4-star in the class of 2025. That's where you want to be. He's ranked 23rd at his position. Rivals updates come at the end of this month. Maybe we'll see a bump. He's already a big build, 6'3", 205 pounds. This is a good move for Kirby Moore moving forward. And I'm not saying Kirby Moore doesn't get involved in the other recruitments. He is the offensive coordinator, but he's definitely going to be talking with a lot of those wide receivers and just other offensive players around the country.
I like the point you made about how it's like, this is a name it seems like Mizzou fans should continue to get to know if this is the guy they're going after in the 2025 cycle at the quarterback position, which, remains a big question. I mean, Brady Cook has this season, but this team lost Kabari Johnson to Oregon State. You thought he might have been kind of the future down the line to contend with maybe Sam Horn, who, isn't going to be there forever as well. And you still don't know, kind of what you're going to get, from him yet. So building toward the future, keeping that position deep, I think is going to be crucial if the Tigers want to kind of continue this upward momentum and, have success in the post-Cook era. But yeah, Matt Zollers, he goes to Springford and Royersford, Pennsylvania.
It's in the Mid-Atlantic, not New England.
Yeah, Kenny just called that out in our chat.
Kenny has ties to the New England region. He does not want.
We watched a lot of Little League baseball in the last 2 years. You and I sat down and watched.
Yeah,
those
I know.
And we should know the regions of the United States based on Little League baseball. At the least.
I know.
Ouch.
That's not a mean thing. I'm just saying that we should know this. We are watchers, even though we do hate on these kids playing the sport sometimes. Watching Little League baseball, we think they could be a little bit better. We still watched it.
I just said ouch because it's like you're calling out his geography.
And he is a big geography guy. I'm just upset.
Geo.
I'm just hurt.
Yeah.
Do you have a response to that, Peyton?
No, I should know better.
Oh, okay. He's owning it. All right. Well, Matt Zollers, keep an eye. 4-star 2025 QB. He's got the Tigers in his top. He doesn't have a decision day, I don't think, that he announced. He just has the top 4. So he's got time. He can make
a while.
Right. He can make some spring visits. So a lot can still change. But a name to watch there for the 4-star QB out of Pennsylvania. Let's segue now. Let's talk basketball. Oh, would you look at that? We were wrong again, or I was wrong again in the outro to believe that we would maybe be talking to you about the Tigers' first conference win, because they did not get it. They lost 79-60 in a rematch at home against Texas A&M. Kenny was not at this game, probably thankfully for his sake. But Kenny, you missed history, because that's where I want to start, because we've been talking about bad for this team for too long. We need to talk about, as the legend Dickie Nutt likes to say, an unsung hero, Mabor! He got his first field goal, you guys. It was a putback dunk right after they released that mini movie kind of about him. I thought that was fire. I'm happy for Mabor. I'm giving Mabor his flowers before I don't know if we talk about how bad this team still is.
Yeah, they got maybe the most unlikely play of the season, an absolutely monstrous poster, and one, mind you, from Mabor Mayak. And they lost by 19. They immediately gave up a 16-0 run over 8 minutes after that. I think not much to say anymore. I mean, A&M plays a very annoying brand of basketball. Anderson Garcia is 6'7" and apparently the greatest rebounder ever. I don't know, man. Same issues other than Nick Honor looked pretty good in this one. I didn't even get to watch the last 10 minutes because I got busy at work. And they went down 8, and I was like, well, I don't want to watch the rest of this. And they lost by 19, so evidently I didn't miss much. Apparently, people weren't happy with the way this one was officiated. I don't really care about that either way because this team, quite frankly, doesn't really deserve a whole lot. And now they're 0-10 in SEC play.
You brought up that Mabor shot in the first half.
Giving him his flowers. I was just trying to find something.
Well, I'm going to give him his flowers.
Right,
it was the last field goal that the Tigers had in the first half, and that came with 7 minutes and 54 seconds left. They didn't make they had a good start to the second half. I think that's something that we could point out is that they did go on a run, got within 6 points, 4 points at some parts at the beginning of the second half. First team to score actually with Nick Honor just making a quick jumper with 18:32 to go. That's what kind of looked like, the Tigers could maybe kind of put something together here and turn it around in the second half. I mean, with Sean Neese not on the floor, out with this game with the knee contusion, nothing was really going to work for the Tigers in this one. And you talk about, the Aggies playing that different, annoying style of basketball pain. The announcers, made it known that they weren't playing their regular basketball. They were almost, like playing a quicker tempo, scoring pretty fast, just having easy buckets. They weren't really going to the free throw line as much in that first half. They were just finding other ways to score just because they were finding holes in the Tigers defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, Buzz Williams said as much. He called Missouri I think it was like they're a different kind of team to prepare for, which just feels like it's code for bad. But he did say that, and he did give props to Dennis Gates. He also said something annoying about like Shawnee being out. I don't like Buzz Williams. That's very publicly known at this point. But yeah, I mean, with him being out, you're not going to have much of a chance. Nick Honor, did kind of step up in his place. I mean, he had 19 points, 8 for 16 from the field. He's still 3 for 8 from three, so kind of inefficient scoring. Once again, when any of these guys, whether it's Carter or Nick Honor, do score, it's like not on great volume. Tamar Bates had 20 points. That's the 5th time this season he has scored 20 or more in a game. And I guess, that's where we could go to next, unless you guys have any final thoughts just about this game, is like, Tamar is it's an interesting case. We had a comment about this. We had what Dennis said to him at halftime of the Alabama game, with him being really good and the Tigers being really bad. People are, there might be some speculation there. Do we feel like at this point it's like fair to speculate one way if he's going to stick around? Do you think could you see him being a guy who puts his name back in the portal after the season he has, maybe tries to transfer to a better situation? I'm not so sure, but what do you guys think?
I don't know. Kobe Brown could have done it when he was an all-SEC second teamer after just a truly terrible year in Conzo's last season, and he lost his head coach, but Mizzou was able to keep him around. So, I mean, if they want Tamar Bates back, I think they can probably keep him. I'm sure teams are going to try to tamper to get Tamar in the portal, and maybe Tamar doesn't want to stay around. Those are all very possible scenarios. I don't know. I kind of think Mizzou, if they really, really want to, will be able to keep him around. They will probably be more willing to splurge in the portal this year because they realize just how much help this team truly needs. But no, it's definitely possible Tamar's like, well, this is terrible. I'm out of here. Definitely can't discount that.
It'll behoove him to just consider it, to think about, look at where this team is going to be next year. A lot of freshmen coming in, the veterans he's playing alongside, Sean East, Nick Honor, Noah Carter, they're not going to be there. Connor Vanderveer is not going to be there. He needs to look at who's going to be on this team, and is it going to better him for an opportunity at the next level if that's what he's chasing? I think it's a very different scenario though from Kobe Brown. Tamar came to Mizzou because, frankly, he wasn't one of the primary guys at Indiana. He only averaged 6 points last season. He's averaging 14 now. He's playing only 5 more minutes, but he's gotten a better role, especially in January. He's proven himself that he can be a starter. Wasn't really starting at the beginning of the year and really stepped into that role. Also, he's a Kansas City guy. He grew up watching Mizzou basketball. I don't know if that necessarily plays into his decision in the long run about, what the school kind of means to him. Broadcast talked about it. He grew up watching this team and grew up, wanting to play there, ended up going to Indiana, hit the portal and came back. And I don't know if that would play into it. I think it's for the betterment of him. I think it would be smart just to think about the idea and just think about what his future holds here before he says he'll come back.
I think the other factor in this too is not only was it a nice homecoming for him and maybe wanted to play at Mizzou, he wanted to play for Dennis Gates. That was like a very, that was something the broadcast talked about too. I mean, they talked about, it was important to him. Actually, in particular, he wanted to play for a black head coach. He played for Mike Woodson at Indiana, and he liked what Dennis, had to offer him in terms of, being a role model and somewhat of a leader for him. I think that's a big factor in too. It's the personality that, that Dennis is, and who that's somebody that Tamar wants to, continue to be associated with and grow with and learn from. So I think that's a big factor of it too. Not to mention what you both said is that, or as on top of that, is that Tamar's had an advanced role and has been one of the best scorers in the country, this season. So I think it's definitely something, we could consider. I'm leaning toward no, just because I think, Dennis can kind of sell him on the fact of we're going to build this team around you next year, dude. And you can make that kind of Kobe Brown stride where, you're 3 or whatever. He's an all SEC type of player. And then, he goes from there. So I don't know. I'm a little more skeptical about it, but I do understand, especially given the season, why people are, kind of thinking, he could hit the portal, because who knows what opportunities will kind of emerge elsewhere. Who knows what guys will go into the portal from other schools that Dennis, might target. Tamar could decide to go somewhere, and a player similar to Tamar Bates could enter the portal, and then, you do it all over again. That's just kind of how college basketball is now. And it's going to have to be how Mizzou works now, given what happened this year, because it cannot happen again. But I think it's a good thing to speculate on. I hope it doesn't happen. I like Tamar Bates. I think he's a dog. I think he's a scorer. I think he's a good player to build this team around. So we'll see. Mizzou has to continue playing games, unfortunately. They're at home against Mississippi State, 7:30 at night on Saturday. You can watch that on the SEC network. So another game. You have to go against Tolu Smith, another good big. Not excited about that. I don't know if you boys have any closing thoughts on just Tamar, Mississippi State, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, let's get Mississippi State over with, man. It's going to be another loss because, Mississippi State's pretty good this year. Pretty solid team, probably another tournament team. And boy, did they match up well against Mizzou. So not feeling too encouraged about the chances in that one.
Of course, the goal is to always win each game, and I think you're not going to look past an opponent, especially where the Tigers are at this season. But I felt like Mabor getting significant minutes in Wednesday's game, almost like a tune-up, kind of getting him ready for an extended play, because I think he's going to have to be on the floor a lot more against Tolu Smith. And if I'm not mistaken, last year he played significant minutes against Mississippi State. I remember looking up, we were all confused why Mabor was in the game.
Right.
I'm going back and looking at it. He did play against both. He played in both Mississippi State games last season in February, 5 minutes on the road and then 6 minutes at home. I guess that's significant minutes for him because those were the most minutes he played on the floor the whole season. And I think that's where we're kind of looking, is maybe we'll see some more Mabor on Saturday.
More Mabor. It's the Mabor Majak game. I don't know. Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be a story for the ages. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see with Mississippi State coming into town. Last thing I'll say, if you are not on Power Mizzou, you should get on it and read Drew King's King's Court this week, because he did a good just kind of column about how things are kind of bigger than basketball. Talked about his own life a little bit. The thing that happened with Dickie Nutt, Ant Robinson too, just kind of gives a good perspective that in the midst of a bad season, call it what it is. There's these guys are all human and everyone's, kind of going through their own things. And I just think I thought I enjoyed reading it. I think others would too. He obviously doesn't make any excuses or anything for the season, but I think just puts a really good perspective on, these players and coaches and stuff. So everyone go read that. Shameless plug. But with that, we'll segue, see what happens with Mizzou. And we will close out the show with quick hits. Okay, quick hits time. Jerseys of the week. Kenny, what's your jersey of the week?
Jack, when you go to an Oliver Tree concert, and no one that's listening to this knows who Oliver Tree is, he's a musician. He has a bowl cut. He lies about where he's from in the city to get you more hype. He's a goofball. He's a good musician. Kind of brings back the late 90s, early 2000s rock. But Jack, when you go to that, what's the jersey you think about wearing?
Kenny, my first guess would probably be like a Shohei Ohtani, maybe like a Shohei Ohtani Dodgers jersey. Is that kind of spot on?
You think that's what someone would wear? No, it was a Team Japan Shohei Ohtani jersey.
Ooh.
The only jersey I saw in the crowd. It's 2024. Why are we still wearing jerseys to concerts? I think that is a 2015 thing. I think this is should be a dead trend in my opinion. I'm against it. I'm
still for it.
This is something that people did in high school. I think we need to move on. We should dress up, wear something nice, wear something respectable.
To an Oliver Tree concert?
I'm just confused why someone chose to wear a Shohei Ohtani jersey to a Oliver Tree concert in the first place. It just doesn't make sense to me.
I think you're just more bitter that they're wearing the jersey of the team that beat the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic.
Oh, that's true. It's very unpatriotic.
I think that's more. You just ripped off your hat. And now
Please, everyone, go to the YouTube. There's
about?
no other reason to go to the YouTube than right now.
36 minutes in, look at Kenny's bedhead.
Please look at Kenny's bedhead.
It'll be different because they'll have ads placed in. So you just threw them off the wrong trail. It'd be like 38 minutes or 39. Just so everyone knows.
Not in the YouTube.
If you're on the podcast, if they're on the podcast.
Why would they be looking at your hair on the podcast?
But Peyton is telling them to look if they're not looking on the YouTube right now.
I said go to the YouTube.
36 minutes in on YouTube.
You've lost this. Because I also think they should
admit that that's why you don't like the Ohtani jersey. Because they beat the U.S. in the World Baseball Classic.
You can't just leave the room every time you don't agree with something. You can't run away from your...
I know that's the real reason, and I want you to admit it right now.
Japan is very good at baseball. Yes, that is the truth.
I don't think I mind the jerseys at the concerts. I think it's like...
Kenny doesn't either. It was because it was Japan.
Especially like Kenny, like you and I both have a lot of jerseys. Like there's jerseys I wear that I'm like, these jerseys look cool. I wear them out to places, like not necessarily like I'm not a fan of the team, but I got to wear the jersey somehow. It's like I'll wear it out to a place and people will be like, oh, nice jersey. Are you a fan? And then I'll say, no, I just like the jersey. I'll be like, why? That's weird. But
loosely quoting our fearless leader, Peter Bland, who works at the Columbia Missourian.
Yes.
Jerseys are for children. And we do not wear jerseys. I have not worn a jersey since I was in college.
That's not true. That's not true. You've worn a jersey on the show.
I think you should just wear something respectable.
All right, you know what? I like the better way it's gone. All right. Peyton, what's your jersey of the week?
I don't want to jersey shame anyone. I mean, if you're like 50 years old, though, and doing some like...
I'm sorry I cut you off, Kenny.
Maybe it's time when you're like 50, 40. Maybe it's time to keep...
That's a good question. What's the age to hang it up? For good.
I would say like in your 40s probably.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
You can keep wearing them to sporting events. I just don't think you should be wearing them to other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, sporting events are different.
I can get behind that. All right, fair enough. What's your jersey?
My jersey, we didn't mention this in the basketball segment just because the team is so bad. But boy, did they wear some pretty colors. Last night they debuted just without any announcement or anything. I think that's just how done with everybody is with this season that the team didn't even promote it. They wore a really dark gray alternate with the Tiger script. It said Tigers on the front. It looked really good, actually.
Whoa, Peyton. There was an announcement. Jackson Francois announced it.
By wearing it.
But it was a Jackson Francois jersey debut.
But no, I thought they looked really good, and I'm really upset that they wore it because now I might have to buy it. And I just bought the gold block M ones that look really good. Kenny has more thoughts on this, but I compare it to the 2022 Mizzou football playbook where it's like, oh shoot, we just lost by 40 to Kansas State. All right, let's roll out these pretty hats, these really bright yellow, white Tiger script helmets, and idiots like me went, duh, those are beautiful. Just like, I thought they looked amazing. I'm all for new looks like this, man. I think most of them look good.
Konzo would never let this happen. He would never let us get distracted by some new outfits, some new jerseys. But jokes aside, I didn't think things could get worse than the 2021 season, 2021-2022 season. I did think things could get worse than that. It somehow did, and we just had like these other things kind of take it away from that. And the Tigers were a team for what, 5-6 years? There were no new jerseys. It was the same three: the black on the road, white at home, and the yellow alternates sometimes on Saturdays. This year, 2 new jerseys enter the fold. You don't want to hear us talk about uniforms all day. I just want to say something. You know, when the team was playing bad, Mizzou gave out free TVs to people, and I was lucky enough to get one. It's actually in my mother's living room right now. I watch the Mizzou games on it every single day, so maybe they could do that instead. You get some of the fans who actually go to the games some TVs.
You guys have no idea how funny that was because nobody that was at that game that Kenny won it at, that it would, first of all, the students section was pretty much a quarter full. Second of all, nobody believed Kenny. Then we had to lug the TV back to my car to drive it back. And then he put it in his, dude, it looked so oversized. Like the thing was half the size of Kenny's room at the apartment. Him and I.
It was that big. Yeah, that's right. It was a big TV.
Huge. And he had to put it on his little desk. It was so funny.
There's a photo out there of Peyton and I during finals week, and we didn't have any finals, and we were just playing Fortnite in our living room. And our living room is just 2 TVs, one really big, one normal sized, and the room just looks completely packed just because of this huge ass TV that Mizzou basketball gave me.
If you don't have to putt for it or hit a half court shot for it, is it really a earned prize?
And he just had to buy
it. It is an earned prize because it wasn't even my ticket. The guy whose ticket it wasn't allowed to accept it.
Oh,
and that's Max Baker. So Max gave me his ticket.
Shout out, friend of the show. And now Max Baker, he's never watched TV since. He's forsworn it in shame. Yeah. My jersey of the week. I'm sticking in college basketball. We're gonna get away from Mizzou for a minute because it's February and I love college basketball. And so I've been keeping an eye on March Darlings out there. So if anyone doesn't know, I know you, Peyton and Kenny, you guys are familiar probably with this guy and this team. If you guys want a March Darling already in February, Indiana State is your team. Let me tell you why. Because their best player is a sport goggles, just big white center with a big cross tattoo on his shoulder named Robbie Avila, and the man is a bucket. He's a unit. He just looks like a rec player. And he's just got such a good aura about him, and it just feels like a player that will come alive in March and will just capture the country's hearts. While the Sycamores as a team are also very good. They have some good wins. They're going to win the Missouri Valley. But Robbie Avila, if you do not know that name, look him up. Maybe I'll tweet a photo out of him. Since Mizzou's not going to the tournament, maybe we can be a Robbie Avila show. But I will be rocking with the Sycamores and Mr. Avila all day long.
Yeah, no, he's a guy that they're the people that only tune into March Madness absolutely go bonkers over. Honest to God, I don't even think they're a March Darling. They're going to be a 8 or 9 seed when
it's going to be like FAU. It's going to be like FAU last year.
They're going to be damn good by the time they reach the tournament. And honestly, the team they beat, Avila hit a crazy dagger, and the shot of him, I was just he's going to hit a shot similar in March, and people are going to go nuts on Twitter about it. Drake, I hope Drake is able to make it too. Those are both really good teams. 2-bit MVC for me. but they're not the mid-major I'm rocking with. I'm a Western Carolina.
Yeah, you do
Catamount.
like them.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, his nickname is Larry Blurred because he wears the glasses.
That's true.
And
No, that's true.
awesome.
Yeah,
That's
no, it's
so
badass.
cool.
It's so funny though.
Also, don't
He's got
search
this-
Drake right now. The moment Peyton brought up Drake, do not search Drake. Just for everyone that knows, do not search
Oh, yeah.
Drake.
If you look
Drake
up
for
Drake
school.
on Twitter, look up Drake Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
Do not look up Drake. Just Drake.
Good.
That's
Good
your
trick,
warning.
Good warning. Good warning. Yeah, I don't know if Indiana State they're probably not my favorite mid major or like darling because you're right, Peyton. They're not like really a darling. They're going to be really good. But I love Robbie Avila. He just is. He will have all the aura in the NCAA tournament. He has it all right now. If you're a college basketball fan, and shoot, you guys, we do a podcast for Missouri. These some of these people know Valley basketball. The MVC is a great conference. I love the MVC.
Arch Madness.
Arch Madness. Robbie Avila. So yeah, everyone keep an eye, and he'll be a darling in the tournament. You heard it here first. Next up, Sean East. What's the segment? That's the wrong one.
No, I like no cap, and he's the
I
main
have
bird.
There.
I have two Sean East soundboard clips.
No,
Sorry.
I like no cap, and he's the main bird.
One more time. Sean East member of the week. Kenny.
My Chinese speaker of the week goes to Kansas. Thank you for ruining my day. I was the reason we didn't get a sweep on our mid-major Monday, which ended up not being mid-major because I chose Kansas versus Kansas State, and that's the reason our parlay did not hit. And I apologize. Kansas was favored by 5.5 points on the road at Kansas State. Game went to overtime. Kansas State won 75-70. I think there should be a term out there, and maybe some more experienced bettors know it. But like if a team is +5 and they end up winning by 5 points, I think that should be like there should be a term for that.
There should be a word for that.
Word for it. I know it was 5.5. Either Kansas was +5 and they won by 5. I think there should be a word out there for hitting that kind of
Like a reverse or something, or like
something like that.
all right, you marinate on that. I don't know what that would be, but Tyler Perry for Kansas State is a bucket.
Yeah.
Name to
Good
watch.
movies.
You wonder why we have a guy like
He's also not the same Tyler Perry. But Kansas State should make a meme about that. If like I don't know what it would be, but like they should play into that. What's your main bird, Peyton?
My main bird. We're sticking with that World Baseball Classic fire. I'm going with Alex Bregman. Of course, he plays third base for Kenny's beloved Houston Astros. I don't know if you know this, but he's a big fan. He also played for the Team USA baseball team. If you don't know, America's national bird, it's the bald eagles. But Peyton, why would you pick Alex Bregman as your main bird? What did he do? I'll tell you what he did. Flashback, 2018, ALDS, Game 2. The Houston Astros are taking on the Cleveland, at the time named Indians. Alex Bregman hits a home run off of Trevor Bauer. Trevor Bauer, yesterday on X, formerly known as Twitter, confirms that he has received 0 offers from MLB teams, which makes me very happy because he's not a very good person. Alex Bregman, for your heroic home run almost 6 years ago now, you are my main bird of the week. You're the main bald eagle.
Very nice, very nice. Yeah, good for Trevor Bauer's a bad guy, so that's good that he hasn't heard back.
Alex Bregman has his own salsa company. They changed it from Breggy Bomb to Wild Soul because I think they're expanding to actual Tex-Mex food. He's from New Mexico. He's lived in Texas and Louisiana. He's been in 3 of the best states for food.
I was going to say he's got
make
that
his own company about it.
He knows the market.
It makes me a little sad though. Breggy Bomb is like such a good name. We used to have in our living room at Todd. 2 references to Kenny and I's college apartment.
Deep cuts.
Yeah, we had an empty Breggy Bomb salsa sitting on our TV stand where we adorned various knickknacks, and that was one of them. So sad to see it go. Is Wild Soul the name of one of his horses? I know he's a big horse guy.
It is not. If someone said me the names of the horses, I would be able to tell you. I also know Jake Marisnick, who's also a former major league outfielder, kind of bouncing around the minors right now. He's in with those horses. I know those horse names too.
Kenny's the resident. He's the go-to Jake Marisnick beat reporter.
It's true. He covers them. My main bird of the week, I have no connection actually to birds, but I kind of just wanted to talk about this. I'm giving it to Barry Odom, the former Mizzou head coach, because he's back in the headlines. He's in the city. He coaches in the city where the Super Bowl is. So I know Aaron Ladd, who works out in Kansas City, great TV reporter, great guy. Like, did an interview with him. I just thought it was funny. Everyone is making some UNLV Mizzou connections with Barry. Just say that out loud. What bird did he play in a bowl game? I don't remember.
Kansas.
Oh yeah. Duh. Just recently. There you go. There's the main bird. He played Kansas, didn't win, but it is what it is. I just thought it was fun. There's more Mizzou connections. I know Aaron was asking, Barry about Nick Bolton, who he coached when he was at Mizzou. And I saw someone else posting, someone posted I can't believe the 49ers have to train at the UNLV facilities. And a Mizzou fan quote tweeted it and just said those were built by, the greatest AD this side of the Mississippi, Desiree Reed-Francois. They'll be just fine. So I just like the Mizzou coming out of the woodwork at the Super Bowl.
Well represented. Hopefully Nick Bolton rightfully claims his Super Bowl MVP this year.
I haven't cheered at a Super Bowl that much in a long time, but when he got that fumble recovery from the touchdown, I went nuts. I will have my Nick Bolton T-shirt on Sunday. Go Chiefs!
What clip from a practice will Mizzou football be able to post on their social media accounts? Will there be a tip drill where he gets an interception and returns it for a touchdown this time? That was one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Funniest thing I've ever seen is Mizzou tweeting a scoop and score drill and saying, "Look, we practiced this. We practiced."
Shameless. That's called localizing. You got to localize.
Fresh off their Gasparilla Bowl loss, they're like, "We practiced scoop and score drills," and then they won the Cotton Bowl. So.
Listen, when Luther Burden leads the Jacksonville Jaguars in receiving yards in Super Bowl 62 and wins, they'll have some better highlights to pick from. I don't know why I picked that team, but there you go. Peyton, what's the best thing you learned this week?
Best thing I learned this week. There's 2 Randy Mosses, guys. This is a clip from the Boomer and Geo CBS Sports Show. It's a pretty damn funny clip. Boomer and Geo were under the impression they were going to have wide receiver Randy Moss on the show to talk about the Super Bowl and stuff. And they realized it was not wide receiver Randy Moss when Geo just turned and asked, "What is Randy Moss promoting?" And their producer responds, "Horse betting, something with horses." And Boomer immediately knows what's up. He goes, "Oh, this isn't the horse racing commentator Randy Moss, is it?" He's like, and the producer goes, "Wait, there's a horse racing Randy Moss?" And he then realizes after reading through all of his texts that, yes, indeed, he booked, as they refer to him on the show as, White Randy Moss. So go watch this clip. Awful Announcing tweeted it a couple days ago. It's super funny as they just go through all the emotions. Gio has a Vikings hoodie on because he was so ready to have the wide receiver Randy Moss on the show, but they just got the horse racing commentator on there. So yeah, it was just a funny clip. It was the best thing I saw this week.
It was very funny.
He brought a photo too. I don't know if he didn't say if he was going to get it signed or if it was a photo of them from years ago. But I mean, what a way to put you down, but in a funny way, to where you're not mad about not seeing Randy Moss because there's still probably opportunities down the line for a big NFL show like that. At the same time, and you kind of missed out on seeing your hero. I don't know. I think it's a funny way to go down.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, the other Randy Moss, he knows his stuff. He goes on his fair share of shows too. So they could have still had him on, I think you just have to roll with it and then, sell it to your fans. We have Randy Moss on the show. You just have to roll with it. But yeah, that was very funny. Kenny, what'd you learn?
Best thing I learned this week. I guess it's a good thing for just college football. Jermaine Burnett, who was a Mizzou target at one time, Ended up committing to U of H right before the early signing period, or I guess not early signing period, just National Signing Day on Wednesday. Good for him to finally just find a place. Looked like he was in a battle between Mizzou and Auburn. Both programs went other ways. He was an Auburn commit at one time. I remember kind of looking into him as a guy that Mizzou was probably going to land. He's a 4-star running back. Going to Houston, though, that's a big deal. Probably a school that he gets on the field early with Willie Fritz there now at the helm. He talked really highly of Willie and what he accomplished at Tulane. Probably just the best fit all the way around. A guy that's probably going to make an instant impact. Maybe not like, 10 plus rushes a game, but he seems like a guy that's going to burn a red shirt right away at a school like Houston.
Yeah, Mizzou, it was interesting recruitment with him. Auburn had him. Then it looked like Mizzou kind of pulled ahead for him. But then Mizzou at the last minute was able to get Kawan Lacey, who that was a very big-time get for them. And they kind of pivoted off Jamarian Burnett because they also got Marcus Carroll and Noel out of the portal. So it just really wasn't a spot for him. I mean, DeVorce Jones is still in the fold. You've obviously got Jamal Roberts as well. So not really a spot for him, but he still winds up Power 5. I mean, and Willie Fritz, I mean, if you've known what he's been doing at Tulane, I mean, he develops crazy guys. I mean, he had Ty Spears in his time at Tulane, so he can develop running backs. So good for Jamarian Burnett. It looked kind of dicey there. Like, no one really knew where he was looking after Mizzou kind of pivoted away. But he wound up landing at a very nice spot.
Well, and you guys are forgetting it's Houston, so with any luck in 2 years he'll just be at Mizzou anyway. So, with the pipeline. So, there's not the door's not closed with Jamarian Burnett.
When Looper takes an OC job at let's think, maybe Tulane, just kind of moves up the ranks, get into the OC job. Need a new running backs coach. Whoever's the running backs coach at Houston
comes over. Bring him in.
Guys, nobody wants Curtis Looper. He's a garbage running back coach. Yeah. We'll do everyone the service of keeping Curtis Looper for
he had to coach a walk-on the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
he doesn't know
what kind of recruiting is that, Curtis? Yeah.
Division 2 transfer.
Larry Roundtree was like a 7th round pick.
Yeah, Tyler Beatty didn't do anything in the NFL.
Nothing. I mean, come on, Curtis.
Curtis
Luke was really, really good at his job.
Yeah. That also reminded me, I read another thing the other day. There's a guy who is big into Sunbelt and said Marcus Carroll is really good. So I don't know. He seems like a stud.
He was the first guy Mizzou got out of the portal. I mean, they got him within a couple days.
Yeah. I'm also I got big bets on Kawan Lacey. I think Kawan Lacey's gonna be fantastic down the road. I think he's a good recruit. Best thing I learned was this actually comes formally from a team that recruited Kawan Lacey in Alabama before he went to Mizzou. But Alabama former coach Nick Saban, he's on the move. He's picking another career. He's been golfing. He's going to join ESPN, and he's going to be a contributor on College Game Day, which I think is just very exciting. He'll primarily work as an analyst on College Game Day, but will also appear on NFL Draft and SEC Media Days coverage, which I think will be hilarious to see him on the other side of that. I know he's someone who probably did not enjoy doing SEC Media Days all the time and having to talk to reporters constantly. And now he gets to be an analyst. There was the clip going around of the one ESPN guy who I don't think have a job on College Game Day anymore, who was kind of, saying George is the future or whatever when Saban was being a guest host after they went to the playoff. And now Saban has his job. So just kind of being the goat of everything. But I think this is the funniest of when they run through picks, will he ever pick against Alabama? Peyton, I would like you to do an impression for me.
So, do you want me to do the impression of him picking Mizzou?
It's Mizzou versus Alabama. I'll be the host. Former Coach Saban, Du Bois done an all right job here, but Mizzou, man, they come in with some real momentum. Who you got in this game, Coach?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Kirk. I'm going to assume Kirk is the host.
Yeah, I'll be Kirk.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Kirk, it goes against every fiber of my being picking against Alabama. After all, I spent so many years down in Tuscaloosa. But I'll tell you what, man, Eli Drinkwitz, I mean, he's done a great job building up that program up in Columbia, Missouri. I got to pick Missouri in this one. I just think they're tough. They're too good right now. They're going to come into Tuscaloosa ready to get down. And I'll tell you what, man, if they're not careful, they're going to run through Alabama like shit through a goose.
The facial expressions too. If you're on the YouTube
So
watching
good.
it, pretty spot on. You don't look like Nick Saban. You're
Right.
devilishly more handsome,
handsome. There you go.
Mr.
I
Averman.
don't know. Nick
You don't have
Saban's pretty
the West Virginia
handsome
look
man.
to you, but
Then Lee Corso's
You
like,
got the
not so fast,
expressions.
my friend. I got the
Oh,
time. And then
golly.
puts the elephant hat on.
Lee, you're really going by the wayside here. I mean, you're losing your touch, man.
There you go. That's your first take of Nick Saban on College Game Day. But yeah, that was the best thing I learned. I think it'll just be funny to watch him make picks. If they have to make him pick like Sun Belt games, I know people were also asking, like, I hope there could just be a segment where he just reviews film. I think a lot of people would want to watch that.
I would really enjoy watching Nick Saban just sit there and break down plays for me. It's
In his
watching
big
the
super
goat-
villain,
Yeah, watching
his
the
big super
goat
villain
work.
office. Yeah.
Mhm.
I forgot who said this. Might have been Andy Staples, but he said there's no better coach that can tell you you're dumb without saying it, because he can just
Straight up.
break down film to you like no one else. Like you'll see something you've never seen before. By the time you're done listening to him, you know what everything that he's said, like you just retained it. And the guy knows so much about the secondary, and that's like an area like I want to know more about. If he can just get into like explaining how hard it is to be a top safety, a top cornerback in college football, I'm all ears.
Yeah, no, I'm
I-
excited to see what they do with this.
I agree. Yeah, it's a cool opportunity. Well, that's the best thing I learned. With that, Peyton, if you have a joke, I request that you also do the Nick Saban voice to read the joke.
All right, guys, Nick Saban back here. We got my joke of the day. This one comes from my favorite TV show, my favorite series, The Today Show. So, guys, Jack and Kenny, I got a question for you.
What's up, Coach Saban?
How did the barber? Don't interrupt me again. How did the barber win the race?
By working hard and playing for you, Coach.
What the god? No, it's a damn joke. You miscreant.
It was a razor thin finish.
See, this is why we're not ready to play on Saturdays yet. Neither you got it. It's because the barber knew a shortcut.
Shirt cut?
A shortcut. A dang shortcut.
Thanks, Coach. Kenny, you have a joke?
This joke comes from my favorite TV show, The Today Show, favorite morning show. What do you call
Wow.
a priest that becomes a lawyer?
I got no good idea, Kenny.
I don't know either. This feels like
A
it's gonna be
father-in-law.
good.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one.
That's why you're our starting quarterback, Mr. Van Doren.
You know, I was talking to Lane Kiffin the other day, and I wanted him to run the G-dang football, and here he is throwing the ball late, throwing it around, throwing the pigskin, and the show.
That felt like some Barkley was like blended in there at the beginning of that.
Sometimes I have to be careful because I also really like doing Charles Barkley's
I
impression,
love
and
doing
he's
Barkley.
way more Alabaman.
Yeah, he's got
And so
more
I have to be
drawl.
careful.
Yeah, you gotta blend it. Well done, Peyton. All right, that'll end the show. Hope everyone has fun and safe weekend. Enjoy the Mizzou game if you can. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Everyone enjoy the Super Bowl. Hopefully Nick Bolton gets a pick six or another scoop and score. We'll see. We'll be back on Monday. We'll recap the bets for the Super Bowl, A&M game, all that, or not A&M game, Mississippi State game. They all blend together now, and they're the same team colors. But yeah, till then, see you on Monday.